Hello and welcome to the week 7 tutorial part 2. That's right, we have 2 tutorials for this week. We need to try to get in as many as possible before the end of this workshop because the more the better and the more they help you, hopefully. That's my intentions anyway. If that doesn't work out, I'm sorry. But at least you maybe could kill some time watching someone draw, which is always pretty fun. I like to watch people draw. So that's an upside to it. But if you are enjoying the process of creating your own book and where we're heading with things, then you're really going to enjoy today's episode. Last time we touched on the publishing industry, a little bit about it, not very much, but it's a pretty big topic really. But we did focus on the areas where maybe it impacts our project. That's the cover information on publishing, what goes on a cover, what you should include on your cover, the front matter, and we also talked about paper and paper quality, paper weight. What is a tooth of a paper? What does that mean? What does it mean if a paper has to go to the dentist? Because the tooth of the never mind. Sorry, that was a bad joke. I admit it. But today we are going to be looking at digital, and we're also going to be focusing on something that we haven't been really involved with in terms of examples and these tutorials, and that's the graphic novel aspect of this, because we sometimes forget chapter books and picture books are probably the majority of what everybody's doing, but there are students out there creating graphic novels. So to you who are creating graphic novels, this workshop is for you. To those of you who like digital, this little tutorial is for you. For the rest of you, then still stay tuned though. I'll come up with something for you, I promise. Maybe towards the end, but maybe not. We probably should get started. Okay, great. Welcome everybody. As you can see, just got the talking hands for this portion, but that's how it goes. We are looking into the graphic novel aspect as promised. I do want to mention something though. These things here, you may have seen these. These are just two examples of the very many of these things that are out there. But yeah, these are video games, and video games are fun, I guess. I don't really play them that much, but the reason I'm bringing up video games is these characters were designed by artists, so many artists actually. So you can take it in this sense that this version of the Lego Leia, Han, and Luke, and Chewie, and the rest of them are created by an artist who were turning another artist's creation, what's a long time ago in a galaxy far away, into a different version of the same creation. So artists can reinvent other artists' ideas. They can also come up with their very own interpretation, which is this example here, where this artist will go in and literally build this character up from the ground up. But first they start out with sketching this character, what this character looks like, how they're going to interact. But then other artists will go in and they'll make this character come to life. They'll put in all the coding and all the stuff that I have no idea how to do in order to turn this character into a 2D into a 3D character, and you can, you know, have him walk around and do all the stuff you do in the video game. But video games are great. They incorporate art, but at the same time though, I'm more interested, and always have been, with books. Okay, I love books. I love creating, sharing, writing, drawing, that sort of stuff. Now here we have Lovely Williams. This is the trio that comes in together to create Batman in the graphic novel Hush. And of course, who I'm talking about for the artists, the Lee in the Lovely and Williams is Jim Lee. He is the penciler for this series. So it's an amazing graphic novel. This is a mainstream graphic novel in the sense that mainstream characters, it's a graphic novel from mainstream a mainstream publisher line, but there are other graphic novels that you can actually look at and purchase that have nothing to do with superheroes. Those are really cool too. I have a bunch of those. That's what I'm mostly interested in. But I wanted to share this as an example because we talked a little bit about panels, and as you can see in this, panels are arranged in all sorts of ways for this particular example. Some of the panels are jagged. You can see this is drawn in. Looks like it's brushed in with ink. It's not a really sharp line making up the panel. So there's different angles that the panels are arranged in. Some panels are perfectly parallel to others, and others have a little bit of an angle to them. Some are what we call, these is a full spread, and you can see here we have a long angle going up. I hope you can see that in the view in the screen there, the long angle going up and down. This angle makes up the top of this page. You only have panels making up this page. So you can see how you arrange your panels is up to you, but it has to sort of follow along with what your story is. For instance, in this particular scene, one of the bad guys is pulling a gun on Batman. Okay, so in the next panel, from when you first see the gun introduced here, there it is. We turn the page and we see this long shot, the man standing above the Dark Knight with the gun in his hand pointing at his head. So this is all done deliberate. All these things are decided upon ahead of time. No artist sits down and just starts to draw out their work. Just like, okay, see, I think this, I'm going to put a hospital bed here. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe. No one does that. They know exactly what they're going to do before they do it. Graphic novels, they're awesome. They're more than just a big fat comic book. I promise you that. They're a lot more than that, although that's kind of what some are, like this particular book. But, you know, it works. Now, graphic novels also come in the form of things such as Jeff Bone, that's pretty bad. Jeff Smith's Bone. I say it's pretty bad because I should know Jeff Smith's name. I got to meet him in Columbus here a little bit ago, about a week or two ago, and really cool guy, really nice and stuff. Didn't really get to spend a lot of time with him. I can't really say he's a nice guy all the time, but he was nice to me for the minute I came up to him and said, wow, cool, you're Jeff Smith, and that's pretty much where it went. But anyway, this is a graphic novel, and this is a thick graphic novel. Look at this. This is massive. I think this is the largest graphic novel ever put together that's not made up of smaller comic books. Sometimes they do that. Comic book companies love to take an entire series, and then put it into one big book. Now, Jeff Smith created Bone, and it's these little characters. It's an epic saga. Think of Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff. This is a big story with a lot going on in it. This won a lot of awards. Jeff Smith from up in Ohio. He's actually, I think, from near Athens or Columbus, one, I'm not sure. But he's created this series. Some of the characters, when they first started out, were very simple characters. As you can see here, there wasn't a lot of detail to some of the characters in the story. Later on, though, as the story progressed, these characters got very, very detailed. They got to the point where, you know, it almost looks Disney-ish in a way. I say Disney-ish, that's a new word. Disney-ish is a brand new word I just created for the purpose of this tutorial. But yeah, this is a massive book. Now, for you creating graphic novels, these are some stuff you really should probably look at. I would look at Bone. Definitely look at Bone. But then also there's other creators that come up with works that you may have heard of, and I know you've heard of actually. If you haven't, you've probably been living somewhere on the moon. The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead was started by this guy here. Not literally this guy, but this is a drawing of him. And a lot of you know this already. Robert Kirkman. What a lot of you don't know is that Robert Kirkman, he's from Kentucky. You probably already know that by now. He's from about 30 minutes outside Lexington, Kentucky, out around Richmond, I think. I could be wrong. So Robert Kirkman created The Walking Dead. So he's from Kentucky. This started out as a mini comic. This started out as a comic book Robert Kirkman created with Tony Moore, his artist. The homemade comic. Okay, those homemade comics eventually got picked up by Image Comics, and then they redid the series, releasing them after they collected them as graphic novels. And this is one of those. This is book 3. There's a bunch now for sure, but it's kind of scary turning it to a page in this book, because if you've read this, it's kind of dangerous to do that probably. So I think what I'll probably do is just show the cover. It's probably a good idea. Anyway, I love graphic novels. Graphic novels, this is really where my interest is peaked in everything. And I've done some work for some magazines. Here's one of my poor attempts, I guess, at cartooning. I don't think it's absolutely poor, but it's the best almost the best I could do, I'll say. But anyway, this is one of those from Modern Mountain magazine. I do work for a lot of different places, in a lot of different places. This is another one that I did for Modern Mountain Magazine. See the panels? Now look at this in particular. See the use of where I've outlined everything with this large frame of artwork. So this was Christmas, around Christmas. So we have a wreath. We have these drapes coming down. We see the mountains. We see snow. We see these L's down here at the bottom. They're putting together what I hope people would assume would be the stage for this comic strip, okay? Use your space. When I'm talking about your space, I'm talking about the area on your page, okay? That's your space. Use that space wisely. Come up with cool ways to use that space, such as this other comic that I did, which is called Recipe for a Ghost. That was something I did about a real guy who lived in Eastern Kentucky named Bad Tom Smith. This is his last day on Earth before he was hung for killing, I think, 4 or 5 people. Pretty bad guy. He earned his nickname, literally, Bad Tom Smith. They didn't call him Bad Tom Smith because he was really good. They called him Bad Tom Smith because he was really bad. He was so bad, in fact, that they decided they were going to hang him. Not for no good reason, but, you know, you get the idea. In this panel, I put at the top, I labeled it, it's the title of the series. I say panel, but for this comic, for your graphic novel, things like this could really help you. See, basic panel outline, nothing crazy, no half a panel here, no 30-degree angle in this panel. They just make up boxes, tells the story outright. But I've used this space at the top. And you could do this too. You could have a large area, the top of your graphic novel, where artwork is happening, breaking into other panels even. Now look behind this though. Behind all these panels, see how this fades to white here? Or fades to black, either way you go. I did that deliberately. I wanted it to have some sort of effect. I just didn't want a bunch of white behind it, okay? These are things that you could think about. These are things you should think about even. I've also been doing some work for the newspaper here in Pike County, Kentucky. This is one of the comics that I did recently for the newspaper. Editorial cartooning is another aspect of cartooning that I really like. I haven't got to do it since I worked for the Kentucky Colonel a long while back in 2012 and 2013. But now I'm getting back into it. I've been working for the Appalachian News Express for a few weeks now. I only create comics from the weekends. That's the only much time that I have. I do a lot. So these are things that you can take a look at. Editorial cartooning, graphic novels, all of these things can come into play when you're deciding how do you become a better cartoonist all the way around. If this is really what you're interested in, then this is stuff that you could do. Different avenues you could go down, okay? So what I'll do now is show you a little bit about digital art before we get started with our panels. Now everything is laid out. Now this is a tablet, and I hope you can see it with the glare of the screen. I tell you the truth, I didn't even pre-check this before we started, but hopefully there's not too much of a glare. If there is a lot of a glare, I can't see the screen right now at this particular moment. If there is a lot of glare, then what I'll do is I'll just make this segment a little faster here, so we don't have spending a whole lot of time on it. Okay. So anyway, this is our setup for. This is a Wacom tablet. Okay, and what this actually does is it allows you to draw digitally. Now, you don't need anything this fancy going on with your work. In fact, I'm still trying to learn how to use this properly. Bruce Parsons, who is the he's with the Holler. Okay, he actually allowed me to take this and use it for as long as I needed. I'm working on a book with him titled Mockingbird. He wrote it. I'm just simply illustrating it. Now, drawing digitally is a lot different than paper. Okay, if you don't have one of these fancy tablets, it's okay. You could try this out with a mouse on the screen. Totally different effect though. But if you ever get the opportunity to use one of these pens and work on a digital tablet like this, you'll see that it's a lot different. But at the same time though, it has the same sort of a feel to it. Pressure wise, they've done the best that they can, and by they I mean the manufacturers of the equipment and the software. They have come pretty close to giving you the feel of paper, or as much as you can, using digital means. Okay, so you can see that by how hard I press down, I'm getting different effects with the pen. And what I'm doing here is I'm just sketching out sort of an outline for a person. Doesn't look much like a person now, but it will in a second, hopefully. So here's the nose. Okay, so the eyes would be here, the mouth would be here. As you can see now, a little bit better. It's a really, really fun method of drawing, and I really love to use digital. It's really taking over the industry. If you're into animation, or maybe would like to work for one of the larger, and I say shoot your goals high. Even I know this sounds like, how in the world could I ever work for Disney or Pixar? But you know what? Why not? If you do well enough with your grades in school, and you get into a nice university or college, has a great art program that can prepare you for using technology that these folks use in the industry, and you're good enough at what you do, there's absolutely no reason you can't do this. Think of Robert Kirkman and so on and so forth. So digital, it's big. It really is. I love using it. See, we talked about laying down those pencil lines at one point that you'd want to trace over, right? Remember that? I talked about laying down a pencil lines, and then going back and tracing over in ink. I don't know if you remember me talking about this or not. I really hope you remember that. But what I'm trying to do here is just to get, I'm going to try to ink on top of my lines that I've created. And there's a point I'm wanting to make with this, and I'll show you just in a second here. This is still really, really big. I think somehow, though, I can double tap this maybe. And so I'm still learning this stuff, it's still a work in progress, literally. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, here we go. Found it. Got it. Move the size down. So you change the size of the tip of your pen. You have it really fine. Down here you can see the examples. So it's really, really small. Okay. And then you can increase it all the way up to pretty thick, which is that. See the difference there? For this, I'm going to go sort of thin. Yeah, a little bit thinner than that. So with digital, all you need to do is have one file. You don't need separate sheets of paper, and you can lay down those lines that you want to trace over with the ink pen. Remember, we talked about this, and then going back and erasing your lines. Well, you don't need that with your digital tablet working digitally. You can have what we call a layer. You create that layer, you go back, trace over one layer, okay, get rid of the other layer, and boom, it's done. Now, is this as cool as holding a piece of artwork, holding an actual piece of paper? I don't know. I mean, you could print this off and hold it the same probably, but I don't know. I think it's different in a way, though. It's different. It's kind of sad to see technology taking over so much, but then again, the stuff they're creating is so cool. If you're into digital, check it out. Go try to get access if you can. Your school should have Photoshop or some software that will allow you to at least mess around with it and get an idea of what it feels like to use it. Now we're going to jump back into our panels, our conversation about panels, what they are, how to use them. We covered this in class, we've covered this in our workshop, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to show you a couple more examples here, okay? So, panels are broken up on the pages in different ways. This is just one set way that this particular layout is. For this layout, if I was introducing a character, I could have this character at the top here, okay? And let's give him a mustache, and this character, we're introducing this character into a scene. So I may place this character that so it looks somewhat like the one I did on the tablet here a second ago. I may place this character here, and let's give them a suit. They're wearing a suit, okay? And let's say they're getting ready to walk into a grocery store. So we're placing our setting. Think of a movie. It works a lot like movies. You want to place your setting in a movie, I'm sorry, in a comic, the similar that a movie introduces setting. This is how this works with your story, with your writing. You show the elements of your writing in the pictures. So your setting will be here, which we could put rows in here that show this is a store of some kind. or aisles I should say, or rows, either one, right? Okay, and so we could tell this person's getting ready to walk into some sort of an establishment here. He's got his hand on the door, he's walking in. So boom, there we go, our setting is placed, our character is introduced. Sometimes you don't need words, you just need to show this as an introduction, okay? Then you can have something on the inside which starts the story. You could have a gentleman here on the counter. This guy's worked there his whole life, maybe he owns the place. Here's the counter, okay? You can put the cash box, you can see it a little bit here in the background, right? And then you have our character here who's coming up to the counter, and he's going to ask to use maybe the restroom, or maybe he's wanting to ask him for directions. Who knows? It's up to you. It's whatever your story tells you to do, what you've written, right? So here's our little character. He's walked up to the counter. He's getting ready to ask for directions, okay? So this is where we introduce conversation or the story. This is where we'd introduce narrative, whatever it is that you want to include. This is again is our speech balloon. Now you see where this panel is large here. We could have an action sequence take place. This is how you would or should have planned your graphic novel, in the sense that we've established a setting and a character. The character interacts with another character, setting up something else to happen. Okay? These are all very important elements whenever you're creating and storytelling using panels and graphic art and stuff. Alright? These things are also important if you're trying to convey an idea, share a thought, or even telling a story. These things are important. Alright, so we'll draw a little bit together before we close for the day. I hope you have enjoyed it so far. We've went over a couple of basics for this video. Nothing too major intense. You can see this blue lead here, right? Same thing I did with the tablet. So here I'm going to show you the difference between working with a tablet and working with paper, and what you have to do in order to complete both of them, okay? Alright, so I think for the purpose of this, we'll go ahead and start using circles. I have no idea what I'm drawing. I'm just going to come up with something on top of my head. There's one circle. I'm going to do another shape for the body here. Right? Okay. And I think I'll have a person just walking, so I'm going to use this little mark as a marker for one leg, and this little marker is a marker for another leg. Now notice I didn't show the back leg. This is the front leg. This is the leg you can't see. Alright. We'll have the arm just hanging down to the side like this, okay? Alright, this is the face will be pointed forward, going in this direction. So you see a profile shot of the character. So that means from the side you're only going to see an ear right there. We'll put a nose on the character, a couple of eyes, like this. There we go. And you notice, see how I've done this? I had this large shape drawn, but now I realized that I don't want it to be that wide, so I've drawn this neck area in more, so that when I go to ink it, I know exactly where to go with my pen. Okay, so there we go. We have side face and top of the head, ear, shoulders, arm, hand, everything else. Okay, so this character is going to be walking going forward. I've used basic shapes here to complete this character so far: circles, ovals, things of that nature. So I'm going to keep on going. So we'll ink it. So for the inking, you want to just take on the lines that you want to keep. Right? You don't want to keep a certain line. Don't draw on top of it. All right. Pulling the circle around. This. There's the sleeve. The fingers. Body. This kind of looks like a Charles Schulz character. A little bit, not a whole lot, but could pass for one. Especially, I guess, now that I've drawn the feet looking like them. Now, not so much. But you can get the idea. So, anyway, we have this character, very simple shapes that we've placed together and arranged together, traced over them. Now what I would do is take my eraser and I erase all these lines out. Think how much time we save working digitally. It's amazing. So let's use a couple more shapes together for this next little sketch. For this next sketch, we'll go ahead and just use the simplest form. Follow along with me if you want. We'll have an oval, okay, and a circle. This, okay. Now we could do a lot of things with this. We could go ahead and put some feet, right? Okay. And then just from this shape right here that we've created, we could make probably 10 different animals. But I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put a couple eyes, nose. Tell what it is now, I bet. Ear. There's the head. Body. Foot and legs. Back legs and tail. There we go. See? These two shapes, an oval and a circle, has turned into a pig. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Again, digital is a big arena. I mean, there's so many topics we could cover in these tutorials and in this workshop, but digital's moving ahead forward. Everything with digital seems to be on the trend, on the rise. More artists are using digital. Books are going digital. Everything's going digital. But then again, the more we go digital, traditional publishing isn't suffering any. I was under the misconception recently that book sales were down, but no, in fact, they are actually up. So, digital might be winning in some areas, but in others, we see traditional printing and publishing is holding strong. For those of us who are watching this video in the workshop, those of us who are in the Quebec region of Eastern Kentucky, then keep in mind that we do have creators from here, like we touched on with Robert Kirkman, and then also, not really from here, but from our region, we have Jess Smith from this lower southern central Ohio Valley region. So yeah, we have creators right around us, and you know what? There's no reason why you could not become or create the next big hit. There's no reason why you couldn't. All it really takes is putting ideas down on paper, generating a story, coming up with characters, and then promotion and the endless rejection letters you get from publishers and all the hours spent, you know, just working away. Okay, I'm making it sound bad now, but no, you could do this, and that's the truth, okay? So I hope you liked today's tutorial, and we're going to push forward now into week 8 next week, and then we're going to gear up for our submissions. Now, if you are watching this and you'd like for me to come to your school, if I've already been to your school already with this workshop, it doesn't matter. We have allotted some times for some follow-up visits, so that means I could come out to your school again or for the first time to help you in putting the rest of your book together and seeing what areas you may need a little help on, whether it's from illustration to the book submission proposal, how it's put together for submission, or maybe even your story if you haven't written it yet, but I surely hope you have, because we're kind of running out of time. So thanks so much for tuning in and watching the video. Be sure to go on theholler.org, participate, share, ask questions, interact. That's always a good thing. And I look forward to seeing what you come up with. And until next time.